And the City Council is also set to talk more about the Huntsville Police Citizens Advisory Council. Councilmember Francis Akridge wants the group of 10 people to investigate the events that unfolded at the June 3rd protests in Huntsville. Law enforcement defends their use of tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd that night, but still protesters say the use of force was not warranted. Councilmember Bill Kling says he believes this investigation should be done without input from politicians.
What I want to do is just get the Citizens Advisory Council a blank check, let them go out, do an investigation, look into the actions of the police department, come back with recommendations, what was done right, what was not done right, so that way we can plan ahead for the future.
Many people showed up at the City Council meeting to express their concern for how law enforcement responded and to call for the removal of Police Chief Mark McMurray. And we will update you on what happens at the City Council meeting on RocketCityNow.com.